What's up, everybody?
Oh, welcome to the Tug of More.
That's right. We're just here having a conversation between two friends.
That's right.
Where we are.
Where we are.
I thought you were going to go.
Yeah, and where we want to be.
That's right.
That we each have this like internal tug, this
That's right.
desire that God has called us to do something greater than what we're currently doing. But that's hard some days.
Yeah, there's a fight and a struggle and a tension to not be frustrated at where you're at, knowing that you're called to be somewhere else, that you're pushing towards more, but also you got to keep fighting to get there. You can't just stay settled, stagnant, stuck where you're at. You got to keep going.
So that's the Tug of More.
That's right.
That's what we're doing here. We're just two friends.
That's right.
We've known each other for a minute.
A long time. We were just talking about it. It's been 13 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long
That's a
time.
teenager. We're teenagers.
We're teenager friends.
And so yeah, our context of leadership is what we talk about a lot here is
That's right.
ministry in the local church.
Yep.
And some days the church is busier than other days.
Yep.
And this has been a busy weekend. Not really weekend, busy run for us for the last couple years.
But I think anytime you're a person that's tugging into more, you're probably more likely to be a person who keeps your calendar more full than you keep it empty.
Yeah.
People who tend to keep their calendar empty are good at boundaries and keeping life simple and small. But when you're trying to tug into more, a lot of times you fill that calendar up really quick. And so for us, though, it's not necessarily been the calendar. It's been the season that's gotten, like, it's just what you said, a couple of years of busyness. So for us, we were in a portable space as a church. In COVID, we went through COVID in a larger auditorium. So on Sundays, we would meet there. During the week, we had our office space that we would be at. But just trying to find a new building, get moved in, get ready and revamped, like all these things. There's been so much that's happened in the last couple of years.
It really feels like for us that even though the church is 13 years old, it really feels like we're relaunching.
Yeah.
Like we're replanting a new thing because we're in a new city.
We
we're
moved
in
to a new
building.
city, and we moved to a new building, and man, everything that we've done and all the people, like we invited them all to come with us, but it's still a big change and like a big busy season of like going, okay. And something we were noticing the other day, like we moved here in June, and then like while we moved in, we were still doing renovations. So it's not like we moved in like turnkey. Like some people, when they build a building, they get it all set. I've had people emailing me like, would love to talk to you about the furnishings for your building. I'm like, no, bro, we already got the furnishings. We're just trying to like get it set up and ready and like
we're still working on sheetrock.
Redone. And so we've been like, it's a little bit like camping. You ever done that? Moved into a house?
Well, our church is camping in this building.
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
You like do renovation in a room or something, and you're like camping in that room. You're not settled. You're just kind of, and that's what it's kind of felt like. And so we've been in this. So that was June. This is now November. So what is that? 4 months, 3 months? July, August, September, October, 5 months.
Yeah, 5 months.
That we've been like in this renovation season. But then also it's exciting because it's a new season where we do have a building. So for years where we've been trying to like navigate set up and tear down, and then we had our office space, but it didn't really have enough for like big events
space.
and enough space for all the people and all the childcare and all the things. We've found ourselves now, once we got like half of the renovation done, doing a lot of things that we've been trying to do for the last 3 years. We couldn't get them done. So we've been putting them in here in the last quarter of the year.
Yeah.
And so it's just been a busy season.
It's been full. This last weekend we had a men's conference.
Yeah.
Which was great.
Yes.
It was fun. Glad that we
super glad we did it.
Glad that I got to go be a part of it. Then we had a live podcast recording that we went and attended.
Yep.
And
That's
so
true.
For the basement.
Yeah.
So we went to
Basement
go
podcast,
watch one of theirs. That was fun.
Super fun.
But it's still like energy output.
Yep.
Then you did a wedding.
Yep. I did a wedding.
Over the weekend.
You did a sermon.
Dude, I've been straight preaching this series.
Yep.
And so there's just a lot of questions. And I think that the biggest question that I get asked is about balance. How do you balance ministry, business, productivity, and your regular life?
Yeah.
And it's a real hard question because it's really hard to balance on top of something that's constantly moving.
Yeah.
The year changes. The year is moving. There's certain seasons are heavier, certain are busier. And so balance is tough. And so what I'm learning is that it's not really as much, balance is important. It's not as much about balance as it is about learning your own pace.
Yeah.
And like understanding like, how am I doing? Am I feeling okay? How's the organization doing? Is the organization doing okay? Are we tired? Do we need a rest?
Right.
What do we need to do?
Yeah, recently we went to a conference for the church, and then Aaron and I were going after that to a conference that he had for his work. And so we went from one thing to the next thing. And during that first conference, though, he started to get kind of like anxious, kind of like agitated. And we were like, what is going on? What are you so anxious about? And afterward, it wasn't until afterward that he was able to kind of go, I was realizing we were here, giving a lot of energy and output and all things. And then we were going here where he knew that he was going to have to give a lot of energy and output. And he's like, I got overwhelmed in the like busyness of it all. But instead of taking the time to just breathe in it, I let it like overtake me. And I think sometimes when we have a busy season, looking at the calendar alone can make us overwhelmed by the busyness, and then we feel more busy instead of going, okay, I've got to know my pace. I've got to know what I'm doing. So like this weekend, I knew that Friday we had a big event. Thursday night for that wedding, I went to like a rehearsal ahead of time for that wedding. So during the daytime of Thursday, I was like, my day is going to be slow. I'm going to do some slow things. I'm going to do some restful things. I'm going to do some errands that I need to get done because I'm not going to have a lot of time this weekend to catch up on all those things, but I'm going to catch up now. And I think you have to look forward at your calendar. It requires organization and like actually paying attention.
Knowing what's coming.
Knowing what's about to be. And then being intentional to schedule, well, then this time is going to be sacred. This time is going to be mine. This time is going to be quiet, silent, whatever that looks like for you. It looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's going to be restful because you have to find rest even in the midst of busyness.
So here's the question. How do we rest when life is too busy to be rested?
Yeah. Yeah.
How, when the calendar is crazy, the emails are popping, that you've got to be here, you've got to be there, everybody's pulling on you.
Yeah.
How do we still maintain that internal balance? Our calendar might not be balanced. Our life may be
out of balance.
I might work 100 hours this week, but how do I still find rest before or during or after?
Yeah, it's super important. I think for you and I, this has been like a journey that sometimes we're winning at and sometimes we're losing at still. Like as individuals, I think anybody who's tugging into more, you're going to find yourself in this quandary. And if you're not intentional, what will happen is your calendar will run you instead of you running your own calendar. Yeah. And there's been lots of seasons where I have found myself run ragged, and I get to the end. We've talked about it before, even like going on trips together, where like the last time you and I went on a trip together, we both got sick on the trip because we had been in such a busy season that was the only time that
Where'd we go?
When we went to Cabo. Last time we went to Cabo. You always get sick in Cabo.
Now, Whitney and I did not just go to Cabo.
No. That's true. Good clarification.
Rachel and I and Aaron and Whitney went to Cabo.
A bunch of our team was there. There was like Enrique and Cassandra were there, all the people.
Yeah, it's the worst, man. It's like my body knows you're on vacation.
You have an opportunity to rest.
No, you have an opportunity to allow the sickness to win.
Right.
And it's like my immune system finally like relaxes. And it feels like every time, like I'm nervous about Christmas and New Year's break because I feel like I get sick every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm finally like, stop charging through life, and then my body's like, okay, now all of the illness can
so let's talk about that. So if that's what you're nervous about, then let's find a way that won't be the case this year.
Yeah.
And that's what we're learning and trying to have to navigate to do, because that's really for me. And when Aaron and I talked about that season, those two conferences back to back, that's what he was afraid of. He's like, I'm afraid I'm going to get sick. The allergies in Texas are weird in the month of October, and we always like find ourselves getting sick in October. And so he was like, I was worried we were going to get so tired that then we would get worn down, then we would get sick. And so, but instead, what can we preemptively do so we don't do those things?
Well, I think that we have to prioritize our rest.
That's right.
And so for me, that means sometimes I have to shove it in. It doesn't fit. Like when we went to the transformation conference, we were gone
for 4 or 5 days.
So we left on what, like a Tuesday?
I don't remember. Wednesday. We left on a Wednesday. We came back on a Saturday.
So I preached Sunday.
Yeah.
Then we came back. We had our regular Monday meetings. Whitney was gone for the next week, so we had a lot to do.
Yeah.
We shot a podcast.
Yeah.
We did staff meeting on Tuesday. Then we're gone to a conference. And I'm gone all day, all week, but I still have to preach the next Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I'm literally driving back on Saturday. Rachel's driving. I'm writing a message in the car. I'm up until close to midnight, finishing my message to preach Sunday morning. And I did not rest for 1 minute
for that whole week.
For 14 days.
Yeah.
But I had to shove rest in on Monday.
Yeah.
Our whole staff was not at work the week before because we're at a conference. But I knew that if I show up on Monday, what good am I to anybody?
Well, right.
I'm not even a dad.
No, and
my
you're probably
kids
gonna
are
smell
like,
bad
who's
'cause
that
you probably
guy?
won't have any clean clothes.
Yeah, I don't have no clean clothes. I haven't rested. I went grocery shopping.
Right.
And so like prioritizing rest means that you shove it in, even if it's a little inconvenient or non-traditionally located.
Yeah.
I normally take Friday off.
Right.
Is the goal, but sometimes that just can't happen.
Right. And so when it can't happen, then we have to move it in our calendar. And you and I, for years, were notoriously terrible at that.
Yeah.
Like we would just keep saying, well, we'll rest when after this we'll rest. After this we'll rest. And pretty soon we realized.
Up on death.
Yeah, we realized, actually, we're just always having an after. Like there's always something after the thing after. There's never a time. But instead of having to find it, and I think for anybody, no matter what you're in, whether you're in ministry, whether you're in parents in life, like for people, like the summer is when we rest because our kids are out of school, but maybe that's not what works for you. No matter who you are, business owner, what your life is, you have to find the season that works for you to find the rest. And then like you said, and then in your week, you have to find time that is sacred and you have to say no. That was what was always a struggle for me. Like the socialness of life is I would get myself busy with work.
Winnie has FOMO.
But then I would, find other things that I would then say, tonight there is something that I want to go to because I love the person. I want to be there for him. I'm excited for him. But I look ahead to my week and I had to say, you know what? There's a bunch of other people going to support her and love her. There's a bunch of other people cheering her on.
She feels loved.
And she will feel loved and cared for. But for me, because of the rest of my week, I have to say no to this. And that sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to say no to the things you have to learn to say yes only to the things that only you can do and say no to some of the things that other people can do so that you're not caring so much that you end up sick because then you're no good to nobody.
Texas Rangers just won.
That's right. The World Series.
The World Series. Yeah. I almost said it. I almost said the Super Bowl. Then I almost said the Stanley Cup. Which is now so we just Rangers won. And I knew that you guys were having a bunch of people over to your house to watch the game.
Yeah.
But I was tired. And I almost invited myself. I mean, it's not, I can go over there whenever.
No, you just show up whenever. I don't care.
And I was like, we can't go. Rach, do you want to go? Yeah, I want to go. I want to go.
Yeah.
I know they're going to cheer and jump and they're going to get it on video. And I know Whitney's going to do a pan around her room.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm not going to be there.
We did too, didn't we? They were there.
I'm not there. But it was because I had to conquer the FOMO.
Yeah.
And realize that rest is a priority.
It's super important.
Let's talk about well, I mean, I think that sometimes we are self-employed essentially.
Right. Yeah.
So like if I work really hard, I'm the boss.
We just take the day off.
So I just don't show up on a Monday.
Or we'll be like, hey, let's give everyone the day off. We work too much this weekend. Yes, that's what we should do.
Yes.
What a nice thing that we can do.
We'd be giving our team Monday off regularly.
Yeah.
But for students, they still have class.
Yeah.
For a lot of people that are not the leader of the organization, they're an employee in the organization. They can't just willy-nilly schedule a day off. So let's talk about like what we can do during the day to have moments of retreat.
Yes.
Moments. Maybe you can't get 48 hours off. Maybe you can't go and sit at a coffee shop alone for 6 hours. Maybe you can't read a book on your patio. Maybe you can't do that right now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you can't rest. And so for me, there's the mental rest.
Right.
But sometimes I just have to get away just for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And if I can just have 5 minutes of quiet and like let my brain de-spool, it's so valuable.
No, it's super important. I worked, before I worked in ministry, I worked at a dentist office for a season. And at that place, from the moment the first patient walked in till the moment the last patient walked out, there was no breaks. There was no minutes. There was no
slam fest.
It was a slam, and you had to literally like eat your food, shove it in your mouth. Like in between breaks or like in between moments, but there was no real breaks. And one, that's not actually legal, but also it was super unhealthy, and it was part of what made that job unbearable.
Then you dread going to
because
work.
I would go in the morning and I would spend an exorbitant amount of money at Chick-fil-A because I would get a coffee, a large drink for the day. I would get like a snack for later. I would just spend money of like, because I was just trying to find any little happiness in my day because I was just dreading being there. What you have to do instead is be intentional to say, I will take breaks in my day. You and I are good at working through lunch. It's like a thing that often we'll be like, hey, let's go have a meeting while we're eating.
Whitney and I have never had lunch.
But,
We only work over lunch.
Rachel said to us one day, she's like, y'all need to learn how to take a lunch break. And actually, and the truth is, if you're not able to find time in your week, you got to find time in your day, even if it's just an hour where you can get alone, get away, go sit in your car, for goodness sakes, and find some space in it. Another thing for me I've had to learn is that if I'm going to have a busy day where I'm not going to get a lot of breaks, then I'm just going to get up earlier. I'm just going to give myself 45 minutes in the morning that I can sit still. We have a patio that overlooks like the golf course. And like at first, my husband used to do it every morning. And I just used to think that it was silly of him, that he just would go out there. And I was like, why do you do this every day? It's like a waste of your time when you could be sleeping. But I realized, no, it's bringing peace into the midst of myself before I go into the chaos of the rest of the day. And maybe you're not a morning person, or maybe your mornings are crazy and you can't do it. Okay, well, what about your afternoons? What about your evening? There was a season when we were at our Matlock building, our last building that we owned, and last
there was
building
another
that we
one
owned.
in the middle. There was another one in the middle. We weren't real proud of it, but we had it there.
But that building was literally 2 minutes from my house. It was just like a mile and a half away from my house. And
you could golf cart your way there.
Yeah, and so I would drive home in 5 minutes, and I would just be home. But there were days that I had such a busy, crazy day. And then I was going to, especially in that season, my kids were younger, I was going to drive home and pick up the rest of the day, whatever was going on, the mom life that I had to do. And I realized at one point, I told Aaron, like, hey, you have a 40-minute drive home from work to decompress. I have less than 4. And so he was like, well, then go somewhere else. Don't do that. Takes 5, 10, 20, whatever you need minutes before you get home so you can just breathe. And like, if you look for it, you can find it.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot now because I was just giving lots of examples.
No, it's great.
Go.
There's these videos online of guys that are doing really heavy squats.
Yep.
And they'll have all this weight on the bar and they'll do squats, and their muscles will have the power, but their central nervous system will freak out.
Yeah.
And their whole body will start shaking and vibrating. And though they have all the strength, they can't get the weight up to where it needs to go because of their central nervous system. And I think that sometimes that's what can happen to me.
Yeah.
I have the energy and my body works and my brain's doing okay, but there's like this, I don't know if it's central nervous system or if it's like my emotional capacity.
Correct.
Or something that like it starts to feel so like it's so much that I can't squeeze any more juice out of the orange.
Yeah.
And I just have to just
take a deep breath.
Take a break.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'll just get up. Like if you work at the church and you're ever like, why is Pastor Tristan walking around the lobby? Because I can't look at my sermon notes anymore.
Yeah.
I have to just take a lap for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I have to just stop getting out from under the weight of it. And I remember being in college and having papers to write, and there would be, a 40-page paper or some giant thing that I had to write. And I would get so overwhelmed that I would sit at my computer and look at a screen for an hour and type a sentence. Mm-hmm. And like nothing was coming out.
Right.
And it was because I had hit my limit of like able to output things.
Yeah.
And we just have to be able to feel like, how's that going? There'll be days that I come home and just like you, I'll walk in the door and I'll have had a lot. And I'll tell you, Rach, I'll tell my wife, I'll say, babe, I need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm home. I hug the kids. I pet the dog. I do the dad thing. But I was like, I need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll just go and put on a song in the bedroom, or I'll go and not fold laundry. I'll go and not send an email.
Yeah.
And you just have to, a counselor that I had taught me some breathing techniques.
Yeah.
Which when he was telling these breathing techniques, I was like, dude, that is the
not manliest
not
thing.
masculine thing I've ever heard in my whole life. And so, but now I find myself doing it a lot.
Yeah.
Where I'll just take some breaths in, and it really helps like reset your physiology.
Right.
And then it resets your psychology.
Absolutely.
That when my body feels not tense
Yeah.
and not on edge.
Right.
And my body just has like, I'm safe. I'm okay.
Right.
There's no tiger chasing me right now. Like, you're cool. Then my mind is able to just kind of like decompress.
No, it's super
And
good.
I think that we can get trapped in these cycles of mental engagement. You know, so you go from like working hard, and then I'm going to rest, and I'm going to play this game, but it's shooting and death, and it's intensity. And I'm going to watch this TV show, and it's intensity, and I'm going to work out, and it's intensity. And when everything's intense, then there's no rest. There's no rest.
Yeah.
And so you might not be able to take 3 days off and go sit somewhere and have an umbrella in your tea, but like you can still have 10 minutes of your day where you're just quiet.
No, it's super good. But then,
Sometimes I'll take a shower. I don't even need a shower.
right, because it's just a quiet
Taking
place.
a shower, first of all, taking a shower is my favorite thing. I'll take a shower for an hour.
Yeah.
Rachel will be so mad. She's like, you're using all the hot water. I'm like, I pay for all this hot water.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
But like, it's just, I'm in this little room in my house. I can't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. I'm multitasking. I take my toothbrush. Do you take your toothbrush in the shower?
Sometimes.
I brush my teeth in the shower. I shave in the shower.
Yeah.
But it's like this little space that I can just.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really good. But we have to find this time in our days, in our moments. But then I think it's really important to speak to the fact that if you work a job and you earn time off or whatever, you have to take that time off. I think that's another piece of it that like we've talked to some people.
I have 98 months of PTO saved up.
We have talked to some people recently who are they were very proud of how much PTO they had saved up, and I'm like,
but yet
good?
they hate their life.
good for you that you've saved that. Who's going to give you a gold medal? Like no one. Like there's certain companies I know if you leave, then you get to take the money with you, but you ain't planning on leaving. Take the time off, because if you don't, it's what we were talking about before. Your body will take time off, and it will not be at the most convenient time.
Then your
It
only
will be-
vacation time is sick in the bed.
Yeah, and that's the worst. And we have a couple of tug teamers that are business owners, and we've talked to them, and they were like, but when and how do I get, we're growing right now, we're expanding, I don't know when and how to take the space and take the time off. But the truth is, if you don't ever take it, you'll never take it.
Yeah.
And there will always be a busy season, there will always be a time, eventually you just have to decide that you and your rest are more important than the work that you're accomplishing. Because if you don't work from rest, then eventually it's not going to be fun. You're not going to continue to be able to do it anymore. And so years ago when I worked in cosmetics,
There's a wild penguin in the other room.
again, I'm like, every time we think they're not going to be doing construction, they are. Years ago when I worked in cosmetics, I knew the holidays were busy, but I had certain months of the year that were slower. And so I had to intentionally plan ahead that those were my time that I was going to take off. Sometimes you got a whole year that's busy. That's how it's kind of been for us. And we've just had to know, right now, one of our team is gone. This week, she took some time off, and good for her. Some of our team is just hey, this is when I'm going to take the time. You just have to make it happen. You have to make it work. Don't get fired. Talk to your boss, follow the right protocols, but take the time that you have earned off, because if you don't, what are you living for anyway?
Yeah, I've heard there's probably an actual story about this, but that a man worked in a factory for 60 years, and then he died, and then they just hired a new guy, and he stood at that machine and worked it for the next 60 years. Or you hear stories of pastors that they give their heart and they give their soul and everything, and then they die, and then in 3 months the search committee hires some new dude. And I think that there's a balance of, we find our value in what we do, but then we also have to value ourselves and value our family enough,
correct,
to just be around.
Yeah.
Because for me, if I'm honest, my kids pay a price
Absolutely.
of
they do.
my schedule.
Absolutely.
That I'm not around as much as they
Yeah.
want me to. Now they don't get it. They're kids. Every morning I wake up, Titus says, "Daddy, what are you doing today?" I'm like, "Dude, it's Thursday. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to work. Like what? Like I know that in your brain, every day
Right.
is Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, like it. But we have to have those times. He wants to go to a gun show on Saturday.
Oh, that's
My
fine.
son is 8. I'm not buying that kid a gun.
No.
But I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be weird or
Why?
if that's, I don't know. Like gun shows are, have a lot of questionable characters floating
okay.
around.
Okay, I don't.
And
I've
depending
never
on how
been-
big the gun show is.
I've been to boat shows, but I've never been. Those are different kind of characters. Those are just fancy people.
Yeah. You know how, well, at boat shows, do they have like hired ladies there selling the boats?
Not the one I have been to, but maybe they do.
So I don't know. I'm gonna
I
have
don't
to
know.
check this gun
I
show.
Get, I get
but
what
I'm
you're
like, he just wants to connect.
Yeah,
He just wants to spend some time together.
He knows you like guns, and so he's like,
Yeah.
this will be a fun place we
Yeah.
can go.
And so like intentionally like, okay, I want to lean in. I want
Right.
to invest. I don't like building Legos, but Titus does.
Yeah.
And so I find myself spending money on Legos and sitting down and turning off my phone and spending an hour and a half building a Lego kit that I know he's going to take apart the next day and
Yeah.
turn into a dinosaur.
Right.
But that's restful too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Finding times of peace and of calm. It's super important, and especially in busy seasons, I think it's more important to carve out the time and the space to rest. If you know a busy season's coming, finding time before that season or making a plan for it right after it's going to end,
Yeah.
that you can go, this is what I'm pointing to. This is what I know I'm going to, I'm working to, is to this rest that I'm going to find, so that my life, the rest of my life, is enjoyable. Otherwise, what's the phrase that you say? My in-laws used to say it all the time, that you go to work to give you the money to buy the food, to give you the strength to get up, to go to work,
Yeah,
to make the
it's
money,
just a
to buy,
cycle.
and you're just in this like hamster wheel of life, and you're like, what is even the point? And
Yeah.
for me, you're talking about a shower, like showers are, what I love about a shower is it's a place of rest for my brain, for my mind. Nobody's talking to me. There's not much input that I can receive. But these are places and spaces where God can talk to me, and
yeah.
where he can really plant new ideas, new thoughts. Even if I turn on music or something, I always find myself not even paying attention to it, that my brain ends up instead in like, it's like it has this space to really pray and receive a word from God. And so I'm like, we have to duplicate the shower in
Yeah.
our life.
Yeah.
Allow space. I often think people are like, I can't hear from God. I really want to hear from him. I want him to speak to me. But we're just in the hamster wheel. And when you're in the hamster wheel, he doesn't have the opportunity to speak to you because you're so busy that you can't hear him.
Guys, you're not a robot.
You're not a robot.
You're not a robot, but I treat myself a lot of times.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't say this. I used to treat myself
Yeah.
like a robot.
Yeah.
That I can do it and I do not need to turn off and I can accomplish. I'm an accomplishing bot. But then you realize like that's not true, man.
Yeah.
You need to rest. We did a staff hangout at your house. What?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and it was super fun. Now, it was a thing on the calendar.
Right.
But it was also restful
Yeah.
for me. And we did pumpkin carving.
Carving. Yeah.
And so what's funny is I love it.
Yeah. You did 2 pumpkins.
And I go into a Zen mode. I am Zen.
Yes.
While I'm carving these pumpkins, I don't know what's happening around me. I'm just in my happy little creative world doing it. And
You
you
should
know
probably
what?
do some of those. You should make mums with Rachel. I bet you'd love it. I'm just kidding.
Rachel,
Rachel, I got you a new helper. He's
Yeah,
gonna help you.
No, those mums be killing me.
Yeah, but it's the creativity, yes.
But
that
it's that my hands are doing,
yeah.
but my brain isn't. And I
Yeah.
looked over, you know who else was so focused?
Who?
Enrique.
Yeah.
Did you see him, Easton?
Yeah.
Enrique was locked in.
Yeah.
Because there's something about being a driver personality that when you can find something that you're still being productive kind of, but it doesn't matter that much and
Yep.
it's just kind of for fun, it's really peaceful.
Yeah.
And so I went and bought 30 pumpkins. No, I'm kidding. But like But like, I've noticed this about myself.
Yeah.
We went on a double date and we did the painting class,
it's super
and I
fun.
loved the painting class.
Yeah.
Then we did a video shoot for the church where we did the pottery class,
yeah, the
and I
pottery
loved the pottery class.
Yeah.
And so there's now I do not have this consistently in my life, a tactile
thing.
art
Maybe
thing.
you should.
No, I know, but like,
Right.
I really feel rested after I do some kind of activity
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I look at Ed Young, and he paints.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he paints and he fishes.
Yeah, he fishes. I
And
know.
he paints paintings of fish.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, meh.
But that for him is the
It's
restful thing.
it's his thing. And like,
Yeah.
I don't want to learn how to paint.
Right.
I don't want to go through the process of learning how to paint, but I think that there's something, anyways, there's something about doing something different than what you normally do.
Right.
Because I'm a creative. And so having a creative outlet that I don't have to perform.
That's what I was going to say.
Is
The reason you like it
beneficial.
is because you're not being judged or critiqued on it.
Right.
And so therefore,
And I know
you're-
I'm not good.
You're well, right.
It's
You're
just
not
for
trying
fun.
to get like, yeah, you're not trying to sell it in a museum or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you're able to be free to do just that. I think that's a really important piece of the conversation though, is finding the things that allow you to have rest, because there's been seasons where I've tried to rest, but then I've done things that instead stress me out.
Yeah.
And that's not restful at all, you know?
Yeah, I can see you. I can see Whitney like, I'm going to rest.
This is
I'm
going to be so restful.
relax. And
I
then-
will relax. But instead going like, hey, like I read, I used to love to read all kind of things. Lately, what I love to read is like documentary type, like behind the scenes, like tell all kind of like memoirs or like biographies. I don't know. But
How
just
people screwed up their lives.
basically because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Jerry Springer
It
in a
doesn't-
paperback.
in a book. Because it doesn't matter, like to my life. I don't have to solve their problem, but I get to read how they learned a lesson or whatever. But it just takes me to another place. It takes my brain to another space. And you just have to find something that will allow you to take a breath, take a deep breath and rest. And then, I think what we've even learned in this season is like evaluating your seasons and recognizing that if you've been in a slow season and now you're stepping into a busy season, don't just add things to add things. Like I think for us, there's been a little bit of like, we were waiting. Now we're ready, go. And you and I's personality wants to go, and we're having to go, okay, let's go, but let's go with wisdom. Let's go with rest in mind. Let's go with, not losing the ability to sit and carve a pumpkin or sit and do Legos with our kids, because that time's going to go by super fast, and we'll look back and 7 more years have gone by or whatever and be like, oh, dang, did I find some space to actually rest and enjoy it?
It's really
It's
good.
super important.
So guys, this episode is a little short,
Yeah.
but do you know why? Here's our goal. That you're going to turn off this podcast,
Yeah.
click out of YouTube, click out of whatever you're listening to, and take 10 minutes to just breathe, to just chill, to just relax. It's a gift to yourself.
Right.
The idea, though, many times is like, let's click on more content. I have to feed my brain more knowledge. I have to put more stuff in this hole in my head. No, man, just take some time to be quiet and rest.
Yes, super good. Love y'all. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, all the things, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you and love to answer your questions.
See you guys.